Thanks everybody for joining. Today is going to, this market analysis for October 31st. Oh, wow. It's October 31st. How do you know? All right. So what we're going to be talking today, we're going to be talking about the collapse of the Canadian dollar today. I have up here, this is the chart for the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. So how many Canadian dollars does it take to buy a US dollar? Now, this chart, from a technical perspective, we are consolidating. We've got a high right here. These most previous high, we got three of them, in fact. Let's bring up this one. There we go. We got three major highs right here. The first time that it occurred was in January of 2016. Then again, bumped up against that in March of 2020, right after COVID. Then again, it's butted up against that most recently, February 2025. And it is pushing up again against this intermediary resistance. It's now that looking like it's going to continue to go up towards that all-time high, or that, not that all-time high, but that most previous high. All-time high goes back, the data that I have, goes back to 2002, where it was a high of $100.59, almost $1.60. Let's just double check, make sure there wasn't $1.60. Yeah, just $1.59.7. So, with that being the case, the reason why I'm expecting it to not maintain this is because we have to take a quick step back and remember the beginning of the year, right after Trump's inauguration, he started using the language patterns that made it sound like Canada was going to become the 51st state. In fact, he used those words exactly. Mm-hmm. When we look at where we are in the whole scope of things, this is about the digital ID. This is about getting people to identify themselves as someone else's property. That's what this whole agenda is. Because the American economy is now so precarious, essentially built only on the backbone of the work done by NVIDIA right now. We look at the $500 billion that was dedicated towards the plan to carry out the Genius Act, to invest into AI. I think it was Project Stargate, if I remember correctly, was the name of that $500 billion commitment. We recognize that the states are making a sizable effort to maintain dominance in the markets, on the international playing field. As such, I expect the pattern that they have had in the past of going to war to boost their economy, I expect that to happen again. When that happens, because Canada is not a formidable force at all, and because of the, bringing in another element of this, Carney, his job is to bankrupt countries. That's his job. That's what he does. That's what he goes around doing when he traipses across the countryside with Brookfield. In fact, if you take a look at Wayne's content on What's Up Canada over the past couple of weeks, he has created a great context for people to recognize that Brookfield basically runs Canada now. And that's Carney's company. Well, his job in the in bankrupting Canada, in destroying it, again, people have the idea that the Prime Minister of Canada is there to do a good job. No, I mean, yeah, to do a good job of what, though? Not taking care of the country. His job is to decimate it. That's there's a reason why the UK Parliament calls him Carnage. It's because That's what he did to Britain before coming to Canada. So since it's his job to decimate Canada, then we know that the US dollar is going to go up in value against the Canadian dollar, meaning you're going to need a lot of Canadian dollars to get a US dollar. The US dollar is already going to experience inflation. This is bringing up the Dow Jones Industrial Index. We've talked about this chart at great length over the last couple of weeks. This crash here, that was COVID. We're going to see the similar thing happen here again. This little bit down, this downward turn that we had there at the beginning of April, that, or from February going into April, that was nothing. That was tiny. This kind of thing is going to occur again, and the US dollar is going to be inflated. In fact, we saw that they wanted to reduce the balance sheet, which means they need to, they're going to cease balance sheet reduction. That's the full term. They call it that. Basically, it means that they're going to, they're not going to hold the printers back anymore in December. So starting December 1st, the printers are going to have to go back into overtime, inflating the US dollar. But because the US is going to also be going into a state of war, and whether that's soldiers on the ground or AIs battling it out on the interwebs, it matters not. The impression will be that the US economy is healthy because of the spending. And so as a result, the US dollar is going to look more valuable than the Canadian dollar as we go through this next phase. So I'm going to bring back the US dollar against the Canadian dollar again, and we're going to discuss what happens when this currency collapses. When it collapses, first things first, it will rise above that most previous high that goes back all the way from 2016, and it's going to go above that and probably head up towards $1.60 to $1.70 right out of the gate. Then it'll come back, find support where we are now, and then continue to rise. So something along the lines of this. And there's Corey. So with the Canadian dollar going into this pattern here, it will not be advantageous for people to hold on to cash. One of the reasons I think that there's a lot of programming language within the media, and I'm speaking most predominantly of the alt media, the alternative media is encouraging people to hold on tight to their cash. Don't go cashless. Resist the cashless society. Don't get the digital ID. Fear, 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 fear. Hold on to cash because it's king. The fact of the matter is people who hold on to cash contribute to the problem. And it's not against them. It's just they don't know any better. If they are holding on to cash, they make the problem worse because that cash goes down in value as they hold it. So things are just going to get more and more expensive. Now, again, I want to reiterate, yes, the US dollar is also going to be inflating, but it's not going to be inflating at the same rate as the Canadian dollar. So I'm going to see here if I can bring up a Canadian gold chart. No, it's not letting me bring up metals against the Canadian dollar. But the point of the reason why I want to bring that up is to see if I could show you in a chart the acceleration of the Canadian dollar with gold is going to be greater than the acceleration of the inflation of US dollar to the gold, which means that it will be advantageous for people to hold something other than Canadian dollars instead of cash. If you're holding on to the Canadian dollar because you need it for things, that's fine. And great if it's, $500, $1,000 here and there. Have it on hand. But I'm going to be encouraging people to have at least 50%, again, 50% of their cash holdings, to have it in the US dollar, because it won't inflate as fast. It's terrible situation to be in. All of the currencies are inflating because it's the transition time. It's time to get people to go on into cryptos. The war of the stable coins is fast approaching. As such, the fiat that we hold is going to drop in value, and it simply will turn into a strategy of having currencies, fiat currencies, that will not inflate as much, but still allow you to have that liquid flexibility of cash. Pause for a second and we can talk about this. I want to people bring up questions about this. What's unclear about this for you? Because in order for me to present the strategy that I would use, the tools that I would use to complete this, I would like to hear what people are thinking about this. The Canadian dollar is going to accelerate in inflation to a greater degree than the US dollar, meaning that if you want to hold on to cash, I recommend that it not be all Canadian dollars. Which means it won't be cold hard cash like you are typically used to hearing, again, from the programming that we get from the alt media. The alt media is in on this nonsense. Dominantly, the programming language, the algorithm is delivering content to people to keep them in a state of fear. And the digital ID creates a lot of fear for people because they don't know how identification works. They don't even know how to identify themselves, let alone how to identify themselves with digital IDs.
Right. What is a woman?
Yeah, exactly.
So my question is within this, then, a lot of thought will be around the exchange from Canadian to US. Like, I mean, it's horrible. Does that just mean that it's going to get even worse? The
Yes.
exchange between the Canadian dollar and the US dollar, right? Like, I mean, those who are in that world where, oh man, I'm going to have to buy some stuff, whatever is from the States, and the exchange is going to kill me kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it would be better to get everything in US dollars then.
It would be advantageous. I recognize that getting it all into US dollars is not that convenient. The only way that I would recommend people do that is if they are using Wise religiously.
Mm-hmm.
That app. Mm-hmm. If you're using Wise, you can change it from US dollars into Canadian literally at the point of purchase. Mm-hmm. Which makes it that convenient where it's like, okay, my cash is here. And it's cash, and yes, it's digital cash. That's fine. It's a digital world. Everything's digital. We're not going to escape that.
No.
And when it's the US digital dollar, although it will inflate, you will recognize that your cash will have more purchasing power than if it just sits in Canadian. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's how I would do it. I would do it with Wise, because it's the easiest way to switch back and forth between the two. Now, another option, and this is going to need to be determined by you, and I would even run both, is that you would hold, instead of going to Wise and holding the cash in the US dollar, you may find it advantageous to use ShakePay and convert your Canadian dollar into USDC, because ShakePay, although it's a Canadian exchange, remember it was about 6 months ago, they added the capacity for you to get the stablecoin USDC. It's an Ethereum layer 2 stablecoin, and it stays pegged to the US dollar. So you could have that sitting there in liquid as USDC in your ShakePay account, which then would allow you to quickly switch it over to Canadian dollars at the point of purchase.
So then you're saying it's better in ShakePay than in Wise even?
Better, I don't know. You know, it when you are in ShakePay, you're going to have a little bit more. You're going to have a little bit more transaction fees. With Wise, I treat Wise. I consider Wise to be much like Coho, and I would expect that Wise will make it difficult for you to bridge into crypto. Whereas ShakePay, it's a crypto exchange. So you have one less step if you wanted to bring cryptos into the ecosystem. It's far easier to bring your cryptos into USDC in ShakePay than it is to put your cryptos all the way over to Wise and then bring it back in for purchase, right? So it would be just fewer steps with ShakePay, but you're going to have a little bit higher of a transaction fee.
So it's half a dozen of one and the other, whatever, right? Depends on what you're doing.
Depends on what you're doing. How much are you doing at a time? You know, I would say that if it's under $1,000, you might as well just use ShakePay. And the reason why is because you would want to have it where you've got Canadian dollars and US dollars about 50-50. If you're in Wise, I would have Canadian dollars and US dollars about 50-50. In ShakePay, I would just keep it in USDC and then quickly switch it over when I need to make a purchase in Canadian. And you're still going to have some Canadian on the side. It's inevitable. You're going to have Canadian dollars devaluing. This is just a strategy to be mindful of as the Canadian currency is being deliberately collapsed from underneath us, to recognize the opportunities to manage that risk with some prudent trades.
Okay. Still having to process that.
This is a whole different way of thinking. It really is. And ask lots of questions through the process, because that's why we mastermind, right? Because we need to collaborate on how we're going to accomplish this together. You know, the other thing is that I believe we're going to see a need for people to silo their wealth into different things, simply because we need to distribute the risk across several assets, right? Like, have some gold and silver, have some cryptos, have some US dollars. In Wise, it would even be advantageous. Like another currency that I think we're going to see an emerging market is Vietnam. Vietnam has the dong, they call it, DONG. And USD dong, let's see if I can bring up that one. USD, let's see, Vietnam maybe. Vietnamese.
Wise has dong. Wise has the Vietnamese.
Yes, that's right. And the dong, I think, is going to do better than the US dollar. But again, Wise does not make it easy for you to get back into. Oh, here we go. US dollar dong. look at this chart. It just keeps on going up. And the reason why is because they are what's called an emerging market. You can't get you could go to your bank. You can't get the dong. You have to find a broker. You can't exchange local currencies for dong. You have to get a broker to get that currency for you. Or Wise now allows you to make that transfer. So you could hold dong and watch it grow. I mean, the dong, just since COVID, the dong has gone up 15%. And in currency terms, that's a lot. I know some people who, and I have a little bit too. I think I've got about 300,000 dong. And if when there is a revaluation and energy contracts get reevaluated, that 300,000 dong that I have could very well be ending up being $500,000, $600,000 Canadian. Now, whether or not that does me any good at that point, I don't know. But I just know that what did I buy that for? I probably bought that 300,000 dong for $1,000 back in 2014, 2015. Right? So that $1,000 worth of dong could be worth $500,000 worth Canadian at a time where I could really use more than $1,000. I can't believe it. I swear to God, Bill Gates's mosquitoes are in the house. No, it's November tomorrow, and there's a mosquito on the window.
Well, but that's tomorrow. Today's still October.
Okay. It's still alive, so it might not be Bill Gates's mosquito. If it's alive tomorrow, though, I swear.
What it sounds like, Paul, is that we need to be open-minded and flexible, almost fleet of foot with our willingness to move our assets around.
Yes, you need to be very agile.
And that's what I need to learn.
The agility.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. You know what? I just thought of something else too. If my situation's different because I've set myself up to be debanked, right? And so I don't have things like a Bow Valley Credit Union. I don't have a TD, any of those things. I'm reliant completely on either Koho, well, things like Koho. Can't even do Koho anymore because they debanked me. ShakePay and Wise are the only two institutions with which I may trade the Canadian dollar digitally. And I'm okay with that. This has been a long time coming, and I'm prepared. Recognizing if I had, if I had to, I would say a good strategy would be to take all of the cash and split it up 50-50 between Wise and ShakePay. And in ShakePay, I would never hold the Canadian dollar. I would use it when the time came right and I get some US dollar. It's done well this week and I can use some of that to buy the coffee or buy the gas or whatever it is. And you switch it over to Canadian and make your purchase. Within Wise, you have more silos of flexibility. Within ShakePay, you got Canadian dollar, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDC. Within Wise, now you can access some of the other international currencies and just let them sit there for a while. I think in my Wise, I think I still have some Vietnamese dong there too.
So you know what I've just realized? I've just realized as you're talking about, your Koho and your Wise and your ShakePay and your, that, to be honest, most people avoid their finances.
Yes.
So they don't even look in their bank accounts every day. They don't even know what's going on. They know a bill's coming up, but do I have enough money in there? Or, they don't even know what they have in Canadian, let alone in the different, even if they have different banks that they deal with. Like I never really did until, I started kind of doing this. It was like, oh, just a bill needs to come out. Okay, just a bill. Oh, my paycheck's in there. Okay, it's in there. And then I didn't really overly look at it.
Hmm.
Just let life happen.
And the reason why is because the Canadian dollar, up until 2020, really was our stable coin. Yes, there was inflation, and we knew about the inflation, but we didn't have to think in terms of currency, what its purchase value was actually, or which its purchase power was actually doing. To any, like, this is such accelerated rate now. I mean, we take a look at the chart. The U.S. Canadian dollar. It doesn't reflect the inflation, but it'd be interesting to see. I'm gonna see. Sometimes TradingView I've found has, they shuffle around their charts a lot. Let's see if I can find the what's it called? It's a U.S. index.
To your comment, Audrey, I know at one point in time in my life, I was so specific with where my money went. Like I literally had an account for Christmas, for giving back to the church because I was a part of that association at the time, car payments. I had like 5 or 6 savings accounts, and every month money went in there. And what changed is when I got into debt. When I got into debt, then that has tripped me into fear of, oh shit, I can't pay. Like I'm in a position where I feel like I can't pay off my debt, or if I did pay off my debt, I would have nothing. And then what do I do for monies coming in? Because things are just a little tight at the moment. So, full disclosure, that's where I have been, where it's easier not to see than it is to see and be scared out of my pants.
Yeah. Well, that's most people though. That's most of Canada are in debt. And so they'd rather go like this, I don't want to look at it. It's like health. People go, this ache, this pain, this, this
Not that
symptom.
bad. I can deal with it.
I can deal with that. No big deal. It's not bad. I'm just gonna ignore it until, right? That's finances. That's even relationships. Like, I mean, the same thing, right? We as our species here like to hide things and not even look at them. So the finances were like, wow, let's
It's
just
a symptom of everything else.
hide it because it's terrifying. Instead of taking that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like the 4 of us right here looking at this right now, we're taking responsibility for ourselves in all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting that there's only 4 of us here.
Well, we were just talking about this earlier. Audrey Lynn and I were saying, it's like when you can share this information with people. Like I had a meeting with a gentleman a couple weeks ago. Incredible prospect, the perfect demographic for people that I can help the most with the least resistance. The best results could come from working with that gentleman. And he was even enthralled for the 90 minutes that we met. But to get him to take that next step, to get him to actually take that next, to actually initiate the contract, it's like pulling teeth from an elephant.
Mm-hmm.
Chickens have better teeth to pull.
Yeah.
Easier.
This chart here, I'm going to bring this up. This is what the chart that I was looking for. This is called the Consumer Price Index for urban consumers. So basically, the items that get purchased in populated areas, okay, because that's a very different thing than the things that get purchased rurally. But this index gives us an idea of the rate of inflation with a greater accuracy. And you can see this is not a logarithmic chart. This is now a normal chart to scale. And this goes back to 1947. So from 1947, oh, excuse me, that was breakfast. 1947 to 1972, inflation went up 77%. Now, again, that's less than 30 years. If we do that again from 72 and we go forward 30 years, let's go to 2000. Let's not even, because it's not even quite. It's 44 to 72. That is too short of 40 years. No, it's 35 years, 36 years. So 36 years onto 72, that takes us up to 2000, what? 2004? Yeah. Inflation now 352%. Why can anybody figure out why I say 1972 is that marker?
Well, that's when gold got the dollar got taken off the gold standard.
Bingo. 352%. So over 4 times the inflation since then. Oh, I won't be able to find out whether or not that's Bill Gates' mosquito now. Okay, so then the next thing is, okay, well, that was just
But it won't
20 years
It
ago.
won't be able to infect you with Bill Gates's.
Oh yeah, no, I won't get the bird flu now.
No, yeah.
In the last 20 years, it's 72%. And since COVID, you can see where there's March 2020. You can see where that line really got steep. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
Now the line is very steep. And since COVID, inflation is 25%. Now, again, that's the consumer price index. So the cost of living is what we're measuring here. This is going to continue. But if we were to bring up Canada's consumer price index, I don't think I can do that. But let's see if I can. CPI Canadian. No. CPI Europe. Yeah, I don't see Canada in here. But if this was a Canadian chart, it would be way worse going forward. Okay, right now, because again, the price goes back and forth. Like going back to that USD CAD, you can see, it just goes up and down, right? And even since 2016, when it was really bad, and then when it got the best it got was $1.20. And it's basically been consolidating between $1.20. Look, here's the $1.20 right here, up to that 2016 point. This was May of 2015. So this has just been consolidating ever since. But that makes sense. Trade partners, demographically, geographically, we're close together, all that good stuff. But remember, Carney's job is to make Canada worth less. Because someone's about to buy it. So the cheaper that deal can be, the happier the client will be. And
So
as
who's the
such,
client?
the client will be by proxy. By proxy, the client will be Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Trump still has another 3 years, right? Like he just only got elected not even a year ago. 5 days from now, it will be a year. So he still has 3 years left. Canada doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not only that, the elected, he didn't go into office until January 21st. So that's still 3 months away from a full year of his ability to impact the economy.
And just look what happens when he just opens his mouth and flaps his lips around and gets his tongue to make certain patterns. So we hear the vibration, the sound vibrational complex of tariff automatically. The entire market, gold, US 30, cryptos, everything just goes reeling. So 3 years of that. Now you're getting it. You're getting it. His job is to be there and scoop up Canada as the 51st state when it suits them, and they'll be able to do that with the digital IDs. Why do you think the USDC is in shake pay, for God's sake? It's because we're going that direction where the US dollar will be the means of exchange between all of us, like essentially kind of how the euro is in Europe.
I think with people being afraid of the digital ID is the reality of what they've heard in other countries of their identity, their ability to do commerce being turned off and not having another option. They don't know what else to do. So,
That's
okay,
exactly right.
I'll take the digital ID because I want to still be able to pay my rent and eat warm food.
Yep.
Interesting enough, that's what Wendell's oldest son did. He took the jab because, he still wanted to fly and do commerce, and 4 days later he died.
Oh. Just
saying.
Yep. Well, I remember telling this story last year when I was in, not this last May, the May before, I came to Drayton Valley there and spoke at the
Bourbon
House, how I was sharing the weight of going through 2021 going into 2022, the weight on my shoulders, not because I needed to carry it, but I felt such, I don't know what the word is. I don't know what the word is. It's like pity, but at the same time, disgust. When I was dealing with one lady who told me that she wanted to get around this whole thing. She didn't want to have to jab her son, but her son was 17 years old, an Olympian, and was competing in order to actually enter into the Olympics, and was competing all over the world. And she didn't want him to lose that opportunity. And obviously, if you've got a son that's 17 years old and he's good enough to compete to place in the Olympics, I can only imagine how much dedication, time investment that there has been. We hear about parents who are stressed out about driving their kids back and forth from hockey. You can bet your boots that an Olympian that is traveling from nation to nation in order to place in the Olympics, the commitment is even greater. And that's exactly what it boiled down to for her. I told her, I said, I'm not going to help you get a fake passport. I'm going to show you how to lawfully non-comply. She didn't like that. She wanted a fake passport. Why? Because, and I quote, "We've spent far too much." And the pity was there because it's like, oh my goodness. This isn't about yeah, sure, it's about the jab and the damage that it can do, but this was about the digital ID. What you're asking me to do is to create paperwork for you, fraudulent paperwork, to help your son identify himself as property of the state. That's what this was about. This had the depopulation. I'm on YouTube doing this. Frick. The depopulation agenda was the bonus, because they know that AI is going to be replacing most of the workforce and they don't want to pay UBI. That shit's expensive. So the depopulation program, that had to happen. But what they really wanted was to get people to identify themselves as someone else's property. That's what this was about. And I wouldn't help anybody do that. And that's where the pity and disgust, it's a very complex emotion. Pity, because it's like, oh no, I feel so bad that you're having to go through this. And disgust in, why don't you just save your son's life instead of focusing on him having to be an Olympian?
It was about the money that they invested in him. It wasn't about their
Yep.
son.
Yep, totally.
So did he make it, or did he die?
No idea, because again, like, I didn't help them, right? I didn't help them after that. But
Yeah.
it's but there you have it. And the same thing, the same programming language is already being brought forward for the next phase of this digital ID. You know, look at what happened after Charlie Kirk. Now it's like big time security push. It wasn't even 24 hours of his assassination, and Pam Bondi came forward talking about how we needed. Oh, this means that we're going to have stricter regulations on identification. Clearly, that's the problem. Like, that's why he died. He died because we don't have a good enough ID system. Come on. And the fact that people are falling for it tells me that the programming language of COVID worked. Whether you agreed with COVID or not, the programming language worked. It got people into that frame of mind that this is how reality unfolds.
It got them into the frame of mind, or shook them right out of it.
Correct. And
Right?
that is the fork.
It did that separation there, right? So speaking of that, I was talking with a lady yesterday. Do you happen to know any groups or any thing in Red Deer? Anybody in Red Deer?
Not that I'm aware of. I know of some people in Red Deer. I'm not sure if they have anything going on locally for community building.
Well, there's just a lady that's looking for somebody to connect with and be like-minded, like us in Red Deer. So
yep, you might start, and that's why I started. I know that Telegram channel is going to really start to evolve here over the next little while, especially as we get more conversation generated. Might be advantageous just to invite her there.
Okay, into the Telegram group. Okay.
Yeah.
And the Lodgepole group is doing some interesting things.
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, they're doing the PMA stuff. They're doing the similar to what we're doing. They just have a bigger group.
Yep.
Right? Not that they're doing everything the same, right? But I've just been going to their, and Paul, it might be advantageous for you to go to their meetings and just see what they're talking about. Right? I think you're in their group, aren't you?
I'm not a member. Nope.
Well,
and I'm not a part of any of their chat groups.
You have to be a member. Just as long as you're like-minded, you can get on their calls.
Yes.
And, find out what they're doing.
It would be advantageous to get a pulse on it anyway.
Yes.
I know that there is some history there, unfortunately, with that organization that goes back to when they were in Edmonton.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, though, that I'm learning is that even though we have history, even though we have things that we don't agree on, I feel we're going to need each other.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And so it's almost like, okay, so this history happened. Let's have a conversation so that we can move forward, because we're going to need each other. So I'm not sure if there's not that you have to fix those bridges, but it's just figuring out how to be able to work somehow together moving forward. Because we're going to need them and they're going to need us.
Yep.
Everybody's going to, all of us are going to need each other
Mm-hmm.
because there is less, unfortunately, of us than there is of the trained, programmed ones,
Yes.
right?
Yes, absolutely. This is that brings up something that I mentioned a couple of years ago as well, where I believe that there are enough people that we wouldn't need to worry about all of these agendas that they're bringing forward. Historically, it only takes 6% of a population to overthrow the local governance. Only 6%. The reason why we're not doing it is because we're still so divided. We need to come together. We need to
Right.
just recognize that, as much as it's easy for us to believe that, he said or she said that we weren't going to get along because they are doing it the wrong way. We have to set all that stuff aside. There is not a right way of doing this. The only right way is to collaborate and all find our own way.
Yes. It's to agree that what we want is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And what that freedom looks like in everybody's life is going to be a little bit different.
No harm, no loss, no damage.
Right. That's really the only thing I feel, Audrey Lynn. That's the whole thing. Let's cause no harm, do no loss, and no damage. And let's just find our way. That's 6%. Maybe that's what we're hunting for.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's not the ones that are fighting against the old system, though.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's those who are, let's just go do our own PMAs. Let's go do our own constitutions. Let's go do our own, whatever they're doing to get out of the system. Those are the ones we're looking for. It's not the fighters. It's the ones we're looking for that are just slowly getting out and doing their own thing. So it's looking for, I guess that's more what I'm looking for. Like when I went to Mojo's yesterday, I'm just looking for people that are sick of the bullshit and just want to get out of it and just say, I'm done.
Yeah.
Right. And then bring them all together.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like this lady in Red Deer just wants to get out, is just tired of the whole fight and the worrying and the, that they're going to take the house or take the whatever, or take the, the IDs and blah, blah, blahs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where the direction I'm going to go is more, who are you? Where, what's your thinking? Oh, you're kind of like us? Okay. Let's kind of all get together and just have a little chit chat about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Even though your direction may not be the same, your process may not be the same. We're all going in the same direction.
Yes.
Anyway, just my thoughts.
There is no jest. Your thoughts are valid.
Mm-hmm. And thank you. Thank you. I completely agree.
We got to put that shit aside. Right? And just all look at the big goal. Look at the big goal.
Yes, indeed.
And just bring those who don't have a community. That was her thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, I'm just thinking this myself. I'm seeing this all stuff myself. I'm, but yet I don't know anybody else.
Yeah.
It just seems the conversations just seem to come up with me, if they're in the same mindset. If they're not, I definitely can tell right away, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you don't go there, but yeah, it helping people find their community to get out of this. And so when we do have that 6%, how do we know? And how can we just slide in there and
The renewal of the mind is all it takes. It really does. You know, for different people, I think it's they're on a different timeline. Maybe it's a spectrum, you know, of belief in the state versus the recognition that to believe in the state is folly. There's a big chasm between the two poles, and I think people will go through that in their own time. I'm encouraged at some of the there's prospects that are rising forward, especially out of that Regina event, where now there's a recognition within this organizer who put the event on and has been organizing all kinds of different events since COVID. She got to learn from Wayne the fraud of Canada. And that was a pivotal moment for her where she recognized, oh, then my focus here to bring more attention to political solutions is misguided. That is a big step for people. And she made it. And that's great because she's an organizer. She's a doer. She puts things together and can rally people together for events. That's wonderful. In the context of being able to help bring governance to our nation, that is very encouraging. And I think that can help galvanize a people, because now it's a tour, right? She wants to set up, instead of just doing a great big event, come to Regina for this event. She wants to go to all of the rural communities and host these events, teaching them individually how to form your own constitution. That's what we've been calling for since before COVID. It's perfect.
I was in contact with a lady here, and she just messaged me that did some stuff during the whole COVID and, and all of after and whatever. I don't think she came to any of your events, but she was friends with Jennifer, who used to own the Bourbon House.
Yeah.
And she rallied a bunch of people together. I don't think she's in the fight, right? Still.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think they have to get out of, is the fight to save the old system.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They have to switch their mind to the old system will never work. It will never be fixed.
Correct. It's not. It is, in fact, it's not broken. The old system's not broken. It's simply been established deliberately to serve other purposes, in foreign purposes.
Yes.
So it's doing actually exactly what it's supposed to do. The system works amazingly well. The problem is that people think it's supposed to work for them. That's the mental limitation.
Mm-hmm.
The system's not broken. Canada itself works incredibly well. It's like remember when Trudeau said diversity is our strength? He wasn't lying. By bringing diversity into the country, it was incredibly bolstering the strength of Trudeau's agenda. So he was not lying. It's just people thought that he was talking about our strength as in Canadians, and he wasn't. He was saying our strength as globalists. And so, another thing I liked how Wayne introduced this idea to that organizer was saying, I can see the fight that you're taking on. My question to you is, do you want to fight or do you want to win? Because you can fight that system all you want. It is the distraction.
Hmm. So this is kind of all over the world, right? So it's not just Canada, US. It's in Mexico. It's in Europe.
There are, I think, 3 nations where it does not apply, where this system does not apply.
And where's that?
Russia, Iran, and Syria.
And why is that?
You know, all the enemies.
So why is that?
Because they don't have fucking Jews running their banks. That's why Hitler had to be the bad guy. That's why Omar Gaddafi got sodomized by a bayonet. That's why Saddam Hussein got hung. It was because they didn't want to use a Jewish means of exchange.
Hmm.
Did you know that the monetary systems of all of these nations, Canada, US, Japan, China is another another country that doesn't use the US dollar or any other fiat currency by usury, and that's what it is. Usury is the model of monetary system that most of the world, developed world especially, most of the developed world follows. Usury was made unlawful by Christians after Jesus. So Jesus came here, did his ministry. Shortly thereafter, Christians made usury illegal and unlawful. But what happens is, and therefore it's straight across the board. There is only one demographic of people that use usury, which is the renting of money. And that is the Jews. So when they come forward with their ideas, it is always around the idea of helping nations have more liquidity. That's how the Federal Reserve was instituted. Before the Federal Reserve, you had a silver dollar. It was literally written on the currency, the American currency, written $1 silver. That's what the greenback was. You could take that note to any bank and exchange it for $1 silver. After the Federal Reserve, they changed the inscription on the currency to Federal Reserve Note. The Federal Reserve is just a private corporation that got started in order to help America get ready for World War I. The tensions were already rising. The nation already knew that they needed to get ready for it. They were experiencing liquidity problems where they didn't have enough metals to back the currency that they needed for this investment. And the Federal Reserve came along and offered the use of their printing services. That's all it was. The use of their printing services at a rate of 6% per year. So you borrow something from us, you borrow this note, this nice little piece of paper that looks the same as the piece of paper that you had before. We're just going to change it so that they can't exchange it for a silver dollar, because that means we'd have to have all of the silver dollars to back the currency. But you don't need that silver because we're just going to print it on the paper, and those become Federal Reserve notes. And you can use that to get some more liquidity into your country. And that is exactly how they institute usury. They get consent from the representatives so that it's not illegal, so it's not unlawful. But they go ahead and do it, and that's how countries fall. And in every situation that there has ever been a similar model used, the currency of that nation doesn't last more than 100 years. This is the first time that it's been more than 100 years. And the reason why they were able
That
to
long.
push it longer, the reason they were able to push it longer was because of the 1972 contract with oil. They depegged it from gold and they pegged it to oil. So they could kick the can down the road a little bit longer. It's a history lesson. And I'm still broadcasting live on YouTube. Woo!
No, you're gonna be knocked off of there, knocked off of that pedestal.
Well, I've gotten warnings, so I would imagine that it's only going to be another warning and I'll not be able to go in. But at the same time, this is the other thing, is that we are now seeing a rise in this nature of discussion. This is not a new discussion. You know who Martin Luther was, right? Not the fraud, Martin Luther King Jr. He was a fraud. I mean Martin Luther of the Christian Reformation, the Protestant Reformation that separated from the Catholic Church. He wrote a 65,000 word thesis on the Jews, telling you the same thing that I just told you on YouTube. This is not new. This is how they do it. And they've been doing it for thousands of years. Thousands. And interestingly, in that period of time, 160 nations, I shouldn't even say that, it's been more than that, in the last 1,000 years, 160 countries have fully enacted mass deportation of the Jews from their countries simply because they recognized the damage that their monetary policies have done to their people. So imagine that if you had an apartment building and you had to evict a certain demographic of people from your apartment building 160 times, you probably would start recognizing the pattern that you shouldn't be renting to that demographic. But no, countries continue time and time again to fall to the manipulation tactics that they employ in order to increase liquidity. It's all about money. It's all about money. Rothschild said this back in the 1500s. I don't care what government the people choose as long as I control the currency. It's all about the currency.
Oh, my saying goes, lesson repeated until lesson learned, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And in some cases, no, the lesson doesn't get learned. Hopefully this time it does. And I won't share what I think that solution is because then I probably will get knocks on my door. So
well,
there we go.
Could go on forever, I'm pretty sure. But
Whoa, sorry, what was that, Audrey?
I said we could probably go on for forever.
Oh yeah,
different
totally.
things.
Oh, Maureen got to hear some of that.
Oh, you're muted, honey.
I've been on for quite a while.
I didn't see you back there.
I was hiding.
You guys, I gotta run.
I just would like to ask a question. Is like, why is there a blame put on the people rather than? I mean, this is just my question. Why is it that the Jewish people do this? Of course, they were only allowed. They weren't allowed to be a merchant, right?
Right.
So this was the only way they could make a living. And I'm not defending the Jewish race in any way, but I'm just asking, why isn't it the system itself that is distorted and should be the 10 Commandments, should be on the list of 10 Commandments.
Right.
But maybe Shakespeare said it, neither a borrower nor a lender be, but our whole economy is based on that. And we seem to feel that that's abundance. And again, that's a distortion of abundance. But it's based on, talk about greed and fear. That's really what it's based on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just would want to ask the question, why would it be up to, because certainly I know Jewish people that aren't like that, but, it isn't like it's in their genes or anything. It's not like it was the only avenue of survival that was left open to them. I don't, because Christians were forbidden to do that. So
I think, Maureen, it is a part of human nature, and maybe it's bred more deeply into the Jewish human nature than the rest of the world,
don't you
where
think it's a shadow?
where if they can see a means in which they can use, manipulate, um, that whole mindset of you're an easy mark, so I'm going to take you for everything that I can get.
That's a shadow element of all human nature.
Exactly. But
And it's like the family
within those,
dynamics. It's ascribed to one particular child or one person in the family dynamics. They get to be the scapegoat. And of course,
exactly.
that's what it's happened. And I think we need to own our own shadow. At least this is what I take out of it, and find places where, yeah, that's where that exists for me. I know when I look at somebody.
You asked on the global scene as to why
Yeah.
is it's the Jews. I think it's that the Jews have been bred in such a way that this is how they are.
I don't think that this is how they are, but I think it's how they've been patterned and cajoled and manipulated to be themselves. So I'm not even going to go there because I don't think it's a true nature of anybody. But I think it's a conditioned pattern.
It is a shadow. And the way that I look at it is that we all learn from our shadow. And I believe that due to the nature of the Jewish religion, that shadow appears most dominantly within that mirror.
That may be, but boy, California benefited so much from the generosity of the Jewish migration in the 60s. They set up free clinics. They set up all kinds of free stuff. They were very responsive to the poor.
Where did that money come from, Maureen?
You know what? I don't know because I wasn't there. I know
it came from the deal that was made at the end of World War II, where the wealth of the Germans was absolutely obliterated. They experienced 400,000% inflation. And that wealth was transferred to the Jewish elite at the end of the war, and they made those investments. So yes, and I'm not here to say that it wasn't good for the people. It's just important for the people to recognize the source of the funds. It was Germany.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. That same thing happened to Germany after World War I as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they were decimated by England, who they're practically brothers. All the families are so intermixed. I just want to just put this thing in. Wait a minute. Let's look a little bit deeper and let's see what the true nature of every human being is, and to put it in that context and how this particular part of our humanity has been, whatever they've manipulated and used it. And yes, they've done the same thing that's been done to them, which is a very typical thing in psychology. It's a pattern. You do to others what was done to you. And that's just like a mantra, really. It's a maxim, really, to be honest, until you consciously overcome it, until you consciously heal yourself from the pain of whatever that is. So anyway, I just want to throw that in there, and I'm not disputing any of the other facts because, I watch myself as somebody walks up the street. I think, well, would they be a good worker on my property? And that's just using them for my benefit. The thought comes, and I just acknowledge it and say, maybe they're more than that. I say to myself.
Yeah.
But we all want that, but how does it get distorted and brought into the shadow? So that's all. I just want to just bring that up.
Thank you. Yeah.
And all of it may be absolutely true.
Well, the good news is that we can verify whether something is true. Mm-hmm. And there's another point that can be made about that, and that is that yes, there are individual demographics, like for instance the Jew,
Mhm.
that and it sounds terrible to say this, but there is evidence, and we can go back in history especially when you learn the laws of nature.
Mhm.
It traces us back to how is it that these different demographics spread across the earth, and that we find that humans are actually a series. What we experience as humans and races are actually various experiments. They are
Mhm.
biological experiments, cloning experiments, actually. That's what the Elohim did. They cloned themselves and created man in their own image. But
Mhm.
this was a series of experiments that occurred over a long period of time. And it was the Edomites that were they were of the descendant of Esau. And Esau was a brother to Jacob. They were twins, and Esau was born first.
I know the story. Yeah.
Yeah, and Esau, after he gave up his birthright due to the deception of Jacob's mother, he went into the wilderness, and where he went in relation to where Jacob was southeast of Judah, and that area was called Edom. That's kind of going in towards like Saudi Arabia, but not quite that far, just in that wilderness there. And they lived as gypsies, no fixed address. They didn't establish any kind of towns or anything like that. And that was the tribe, if you will, that was the group of people that had to tag along with Judeans for quite some time, simply because they weren't able to generate any wealth. But in that experiment of people that was created by Yahweh, that we recognize as the Elohim, that many times Christians address that being as God, but that he wasn't even close to a God. But that being, his experiment, had a major flaw where biologically those people were not able to hypothesize from, or rather, they were not able to extrapolate hypotheses. They just, their brains didn't have that capacity. And because they could not extrapolate hypotheses, that made them very limited in their abilities to be creative, which is what a lot of the other races have, more so that capacity. And so while it is important to recognize that what we witness, the usury that we witness, is just a reflection of humanity itself, it is important to remember that through the laws of nature, we can bring ourselves to a recognition as to why it is that it is the Jews that perpetuate this evil. And it's because they have no, like you said, they don't have another way of making money. The only way that they can accumulate is by taking it from others.
Well, I just object to the word evil. So I'll go, because the minute you judge that, you can call it something else, but it's not necessarily evil. It may be misinformed, and the consequences may be disastrous. But whether it's evil or not, we don't know the end of the story. So we don't know if it's evil or good. We can't be the judge of that, because we are not all seeing. But I'll go along. Paul, it's fine. I don't object to any of this. I just want to include another part, that there's something more, that there's a mystery to each one of us.
And I agree. There's a mystery to each of us, but there's not a mystery as to why the Jew is the way they are.
Well, we don't. I don't agree with you, but that's okay, because there's still a mystery. You can't. There is always a greater unfoldment of our understanding. And
I agree, and I think that I'm actually appreciative of what I call evil, and I do call it evil because it is the exploitation of another's life force energy, and that is evil. Like it's evil to take that from someone.
Where's the point of origin of that exploitation? Is it that person themselves, or were they exploited by somebody else?
Does it matter?
That's where it doesn't matter. Well, I think it does.
Well, except that it's something that if you have wisdom, you can stop. You can put an end to that cycle.
That's different. That's very different. You
And
can see
that's
like-
what we,
that's
white people-
something different.
the reason why the Jews hate the whites is because historically it is the whites that go in and cleanse the nation of the evil that the
Oh,
Jew
you're
perpetuates.
sounding so German right now. I just like for a minute. And don't think I'm
And I
not
say-
German, because I am. My grandmother was from Germany. Oh, well, she was
No.
Pennsylvania Dutch, pardon me. She was not German. She was Pennsylvania Dutch. So
Another reason I talk like this is because you can always tell who it is that rules your country when you can figure out who it is that you're not allowed to criticize. And in Canada, it is a crime for me to speak like this. I would be
That's
taken to
ridiculous.
prison.
You can think
I would be a
any thought
political
you want.
prisoner for indefinitely, actually.
That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And not in, to me, what I would hold dear, which is the freedom to speak your mind.
Yes, that would be amazing.
And I totally am in accord with that. Now, whether you're right or not, or whether I agree with you, that's probably a better way to say it.
Yeah.
But I can understand how you think that way, because I understand how the facts have been gathered to make that conclusion. But I always feel like I have insufficient data. So there's always this little piece, this little space of mystery. And I've taken up enough time, but I just want to interject that.
Yeah. I like what
Thank you.
Audrey Lynn just wrote, that at some point in time, the being has to take responsibility for their actions.
Mhm.
So I'm going to go into the sexual abuse thing, right? Is whether they were sexually abused themselves or saw someone be sexually abused, they have two choices. They can either become abuser or an advocate or not be an abuser, right? And along the way, the Jews are choosing to constantly be the abusers.
Well, I think people that want money are constantly choosing power over, whether
Yeah.
they're Jewish or they're Christian or they're agnostic or Buddhist or whatever they
Exactly,
are.
yes.
I think
Absolutely.
it's an element of human nature. And yes, I do. And I see the history of when they were relegated that power. And it is how they have survived. So I totally agree with that. I have survived in my own way with I would call not so pleasant kind of attitudes. So, or belief systems. So I know that that's there, and I know how much I can do at a time. So I just have, like I said, it's this little bitty space that says, I don't know. And it's a mystery. And I allow for something else to emerge, which I think you were mentioning earlier, Audrey, about you don't fight the problem anymore. You create the world you want to live in.
Yes.
And I totally agree with that. And that takes self-responsibility to say, I don't want to do this anymore. Clunk. I want this life.
But I stay away.
It's going to go.
But I
So-
stay away for the most part from the evil.
Well,
So, right?
Well, of course. Why wouldn't you?
Living
Yes.
in this environment here right now that I'm living in, I feel it's evil. There's no back and forth discussion. There's no, I'm going to agree or disagree with you, and I'm going to still, be okay. Or whatever,
Definitely leave that environment.
right?
I totally agree.
And that's the thing that we just need to leave the environment. And I can see Paul's thought on that is we're just going to leave the Jew environment,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right?
I just won't label it like that. That's all. I'll label it at what I consider underneath the label that some people have adapted as a behavior pattern in order to cope with their reality, and that is not healthy. Let me tell you, I don't think it's healthy. I
And
think
I-
healthy, illness, health, dis-ease, ease, dis-ease. So when you use that as a modifier, you're using the body wisdom. The body does not say evil, good. It says ease, dis-ease.
Mhm.
And you can correct that because you can adjust. And that's what's gotten us really by in human as a evolving human being, is moving away from dis-ease and moving toward ease. But we don't even ask ourselves that question. I know I'm sitting here and I'm in dis-ease. I'm going to stand up here for a minute. I'm just wiggling. And I'm learning this. I'm learning this whole thing about how to go to what brings joy to my heart. What makes me happy in the day. And maybe it's my age. I don't know. But that's really what matters to me. So
what I appreciate most of this discussion is how much more ease you bring to what causes a lot of discord for me, simply because I have a lot of baggage around this system. I have been abused by it. And recognizing that we have to end the cycle, and recognizing that there are some who are simply not capable.
You know what, Paul? I am with you, because that's your primary movement, is to create a better world.
Mm-hmm.
And really, your heart is in that. The rest of it is all trauma. It's coming from trauma. We can't help it. Yeah. We can't help it. But when you can find joy in your heart, you can find the place that brings you joy. If you don't go for it, you're being led by your trauma.
Yep.
So that's why, anyway, so all of that, that's why I keep coming back, because I feel that joy of your vision.
Thank you.
And then you're implementing it, and for whatever reason, you're standing up against what stops that. So whatever you want to name all of that, shadow demons, whatever you want to name them, believe me, I know them, and I fought with them, But I want to go toward paradiso. I want paradise. Yes, give me paradise.
Yes.
And I won't accept anything less. Let's put
and I love the concept of recognizing that that's not someplace we go. That's a way of being. We are.
Mm-hmm. You're muted again, honey. Muted, Maureen.
Muted, Maureen.
Hear me sing.
Yeah.
I live in paradise. I feel I live in paradise.
Yeah.
What I've noticed, though, is so when we point a finger at somebody else, there's 3 pointing back at us, right? But if we point the finger back at us, all 4 of them are pointing back at us. Right? No, that's up in the air, honey.
Yeah, that's up in the air.
That's pointing up in the air or somewhere else. But still, there's fingers pointing back at us. But if we're pointing at us, all of our fingers are pointing at us. Because that's exactly what Audrey Lynn said. It was the self-responsibility, right? That self-responsibility.
That's the origin point, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Audrey Lynn, what you said. And Paul, I think that feels like the origin point for you as well. And that's what brings you joy, is you get to make this decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I really do. I do feel optimistic of what is possible. And as we work together to minimize the manipulation that we fall to, when we learn to safeguard our hearts, our minds, and our families, our communities from manipulation, that makes it where we most naturally unfold into that fulfillment, into that thriving, that flourishing of humanity. Yeah.
Whew.
For my birthday, my brother gave me this movie. It was put out by the Ignatius Press, so it's Catholic, But even still, I love it because I love some of their movies. And it was Filippo, somebody. He was an Italian saint in the 1600s. And he just, he talked about Paradiso. So it's like, that's what we live in and we don't even know it. We don't know it. And how he lived in it. And I think saints do. And that's why we love him so much, is because they're living where we could be living, and he just died with a smile on his face, and it's like, of course that's the movie, but I'm going, oh, that's how I want to die. I want to die.
I'm moving there in January.
In Italy?
Paradiso. No,
Oh, Paradiso.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Mexico.
Mexico.
Leaving all my worries behind.
In January, you did that last year, right?
No,
Oh, I thought you
I-
lived in Mexico. When was
I
it?
did 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
I left Canada in 2020
Ah,
and I came back in 2022.
where are you going to be? Do you know?
I'll start around the Michelin area, which is kind of down by Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah. You speak Spanish then, no?
Poquito español,
Okay.
but
Enough.
enough.
Bastante. Bastante.
I can understand more than I can
Oh,
habla,
Yeah.
talk.
Well, you'll be in a community though of English speaking. Oh, no, you're going to be totally Spanish speaking. Oh, well, that's really the way to learn.
It is. Mind you, I have a friend who speaks
Oh, okay.
English. No,
Yes.
big
You
deal.
you dance with him. You're
Yes, my dance friend.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, it's like everybody needs to go find their paradiso.
Yeah.
And whether that's internally.
Yeah. Well, it has to be here first for it to be out there, right?
Yeah. And I know, like, I mean, when I went down in October, it's definitely puts that paradise here
Yeah.
internally, right? So sometimes external helps with
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
internal.
It triggers it. It triggers it. Yeah, it triggers it.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, well, that's great. I'm sorry. Yeah. Paul, I did want to ask you Monday. Taylor's going to meet with us, and if you would Monday, if we could do the whole teaching her how to do the sequence of going, to the exchange, to the
Yeah.
buy, to the wall, all of that. So sequentially, and then she asked if she could have a written thing of that to the AI kind of thing, so she could practice with me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We'll make sure Monday is clear for me. So I'm confirming Monday works.
We have Monday together, 11:30, right?
Yep.
Yeah, good. Okay. And Corey, I don't know you at all, but I love your background. You have trees growing out of your shoulders and head and things. You're a tree guy? Oh, I don't know. I can't hear you, Corey.
Muted there, Corey. Something's muted.
Still muted. Yeah. Somewhere. Now, Maureen,
Oh.
you're muted. Oh, Corey
Now
left
he's out.
now.
And Maureen, you're muted and I can see you talking. I need to get going. I've
Yes.
got my next appointment in a couple minutes.
Okay.
So
Take care.
thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the
Nice
day.
seeing you again. Good meeting, Corey.
Oh, there comes. Let's see if it works again.
Okay.
Is it working now?
No.
Nope. Still muted on something there, Corey. It shows that you're not muted, but a system setting or something must be on.
How about now?
Yeah, that works.
Oh, yeah, there it was.
Ah, perfect.
What was it?
I
What was
just-
it that you did?
All I had to do was change my my settings to analog stereo, and then it was
Oh,
all that. I'm on a Linux operating system, so could be a little more quirky.
Yep.
I want to switch to that too. That's one of my long-term goals,
Mm.
to go to Linux.
Yeah, I keep one Linux system on my